Hello everyone, welcome to this UCAT video. Today I will be going over decision making, specifically the maths shapes equation. Now, before I begin, I would just like to say 4 different things, possibly more. Number 1, you need to know how to use simultaneous equations or how to do them. Number 2, you need to know how to rearrange equations. Not knowing how to do them, you will come across issues throughout the UCAT, specifically rearranging equations. Rearranging equations for both quantitative and decision making is vital, so definitely know how to do that. Simultaneous equations is probably the highest level of maths you might need throughout quantitative reasoning as well as decision making. But with that being said, let's go on to the chunky meaty part of this video. So before I begin practicing questions, I would just like to say there are 2 different types of techniques I'm going to be using. One is indirect substitution, and the other one is direct substitution. And there are 2 other keywords I'll be using: similarity, and not necessarily a keyword, but something that you might want to consider, which is the equation with the question mark. Now, these 4 different things are gold for tackling this style of question. So indirect substitution, what is that? That is basically when I assign the number 1 or any other number to one of these shapes. So typically, to start off tackling one of these questions, I always say, okay, which one shall I assign the number 1? And I always go triangle equals 1, therefore circle equals 2, because it's basically saying 1 plus 1 equals 2, and triangle is 1, so there's 1 plus another 1, which equals 2. In this case it's circle, but then that means circle equals 2. If it doesn't make sense, don't worry, we'll go through it. Direct substitution is basically when you get one equation and you substitute it into another. So let's say, for example, you've got triangle plus triangle equals circle, right? This circle here is common also within this last equation here. So instead of putting circle, I can then end up putting triangle plus square equals triangle. So I've got myself 2 triangles instead of a circle. Makes sense? Because a circle equals 2 triangles. And this is beneficial because, number 1, it gives me only 2 shapes within an equation. And this will become a great benefit to you later on. The other thing I just wanted to say is similarity. Now, similarity, when you can't do this method right here, indirect substitution, the next thing you kind of want to consider is, how are each of the equations similar? Like, some of them will repeat some of the shapes, and you can use that to then do direct substitution. Now, I know it doesn't make sense right now, but it will do as we move on. Now, the other thing I would like to say is, if you can't do indirect substitution, another thing that you can look at is the equation with the question mark. Because if you simplify that, sometimes you get to the answer with under 10-15 seconds. So those were the main things I wanted to tell you, and just before we continue, I had previously made a video on this, and the technique I used was indirect substitution, but then I realized that there are other questions where you can't necessarily use that instantly. So this video is going to contain both. So if you want to check that video out first, feel free to do so. It's basically fetus shumile trying to help you out with indirect substitution with the maths shapes equation. But this video will be me using both techniques. So you can go about this both ways. You can, pause the video before each question and then do it yourself and then watch me do it, or you can watch me do it throughout the whole thing. It's totally up to you. Or if you want to do the first 5 questions, just watch me and then do the next 5 by yourself, you can do that. It's completely up to you. So, let's begin. Okay, so let's begin with this first question right here. So, what's the very first thing that I'm going to be doing? Well, it's simple. So, I need to look for any equation where there are only 2 shapes. There's a reason for that, because that is when I can do indirect substitution. So, look at this. Here we have 2 hearts and 3 circles. So let's simplify this. So 2h equals 3c. I am going to do a substitution where I assign one of these shapes to the number 1. I can make circle equals 1 or the heart equal 1. I'm going to go with circle. So let's make circle equal 1, and I'm going to circle that. So then that means, so therefore, 2 hearts equals 3. You're probably wondering how. Well, the circle equals 1, so this is basically saying 3 times 1, and 3 times 1 is 3. And so now we're left with this equation here. So 2h, or 2 hearts, equals 3. Rearrange that to get hearts, and you get h, or heart, equals 3 over 2, which is 1.5 as a fraction. So, now that you've got that, now look at the next equation, or any other equation where there are 2 known variables and 1 unknown. So, after that, you want to find one where there's 2 known variables or shapes, and then 1 unknown. Sometimes you can have 1 unknown and 1 known, or sometimes 2 known and 1 unknown. So looking at the second one here, we've got 2 pentagons equals 2 hearts plus a circle. So let's write this out. So 2p, I'm not going to draw a pentagon because you know what, my pentagons look like circles. So 2 pentagons equals 2 hearts plus a circle. So I can substitute my numbers in because I already know what a heart equals. I already know what a circle equals. So that's easy. So 2 times h, or 2 times 1.5, is 3, plus the 1, which is the circle, equals 2p, right? Now going up to here, I can rearrange 2p equals 3 plus 1 and just simplify that even more. So 4 equals 2p, because 3 plus 1 is 4. Now take the 2 to the other side, or divide it to get p, and p equals 4 over 2. And 4 over 2 as a whole number is 2. So p equals 2. Now we can work on the last step, or this last equation, and work out what the missing question mark is. Heart plus pentagon, so let's write this out. So heart is 1.5, plus the pentagon, which is 2, equals 1 plus 1 plus unknown. So we can simplify this. So if I get rid of this whole thing, just 1 second. We get 3 equals, so 1.5 plus 2, sorry. So we get 1.5 plus 2, which makes 3.5, equals 2 plus the question mark. Now what we do is 3.5 minus the 2 equals the question mark. And 3.5 minus the 2 is 1.5. And as we know, 1.5 is heart. And so the answer to the missing question is heart. That, my friends, was indirect substitution. I've broken it down for you so you understand what I'm actually doing. When you get the hang of this, you only need to write down all the steps. All you will be doing is literally writing down what C equals, what heart equals, what P equals. That's literally it. The rest you can do in your head. And it's amazing. Once you get the hang of this, honestly, you'll be a pro at this. Let's do another question. What's the first step? Yes, identify one equation where there are two variables or two shapes. In this case, we've got two of them. I can go with either of them. Let's go with this one right here. 2 stars equal a circle. So, 2s equals c. Let's make s equal 1. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I know which one to make 1? It doesn't really matter. You can go with either or the other. However, going with either one of them will make a decimal, one of them will make a whole number, or beyond 0.5. So, s equals 1, therefore c equals 2. Now, if you're wondering how I got to that stage, well, if s equals 1, then it's basically saying 2 times 1, which is 2, and the rest of the equation just equals c, so 2 equals c. Makes sense. So now, I'm being asked to do the rest. So now I have to find out what a triangle is, what a rectangle is. So let's do that. Let's do this equation first. So 2t equals 1, because star is equal to 1. So to find out what t is, let's rearrange t, and we get t equals 1 over 2, because I've taken the 2 to the other side. When it goes to the other side of the equation, you do the opposite sign. So right now it's multiplied by t. Now we're going to divide it, and divide both sides to get rid of 2, and we get 1 over 2. 1 over 2 as a decimal is 0.5. By the way, this is GCSE level, so if you feel uncomfortable doing this, definitely scratch up upon rearranging equations. It'll come in handy even throughout medicine or dentistry as well. So, the next part that we're looking at, so let me just quickly write this. The next part we're looking at is working out rectangle. Now we can work out rectangle by the first equation, so triangle plus circle equals star plus rectangle. Triangle equals 0.5 plus the circle, which is 2, equals the star, which is 1, plus the rectangle. 2 plus 0.5 is 2.5, equals 1 plus the r. 2.5 minus 1 is 1.5, which equals r. So r is 1.5. Now, we can do the last equation. Triangle 0.5 plus the rectangle 1.5 plus the star 1 equals circle 2 plus the question mark. So 0.5 plus 1.5 is 2 plus another 1 is 3. And that equals 2 plus the question mark. Now rearrange the question for the question mark, and we do 3 minus 2, so 3 minus 2 equals question mark. Therefore, question mark equals 1. And we know 1 is the star. And you, mate, are a star. See that? It's perfect. So this is basically indirect substitution. Now we're going to get a little bit harder. So, oh look, first thing, what's the first thing that you do? You should know now. That's it. Find an equation where there are two variables. So, triangle equals a rectangle. So 3 triangles equals a rectangle. I automatically know what I'm going to assign each one. So triangle for me is 1, therefore rectangle is 3. Perfect. So now find an equation where there are 2 variables, known variables, and 1 unknown. Ouch. We can't find that. It's not there at all. Like, if you look at it, we've got triangle, which we know, but a square and a circle, we don't know. So there are 2 routes you can take. Number 1, you can simplify this last equation, right? With the one with the question mark in. The other route you can take is to merge these equations together. Either 2 of them, so yeah, merging 2 of them at a time, and work towards creating a simultaneous equation, or you can directly substitute one into the other. It's totally up to you. So don't worry, I'll be going through all of them. So let's first begin with simplifying this equation. Can we simplify this equation? Looking at it, Not really. There isn't any common shape on both sides, so I can't cancel anything out. How about the different types of shapes? Can I cancel out any of the shapes? Well, if I look at this here, rectangle is also equal to 3 triangles. And if I put 3 triangles here, can that help me at all? It can. So I've just, with a bit of practice, I'm able to think ahead as well, and sorry if I didn't think out loud. However, let's go ahead and simplify this. Or substitute this equation into here and see what happens. Obviously, there's no harm in trying. The more you try this and experiment and get things wrong, the more you'll realize. So, circle plus a triangle plus a square equals a rectangle plus the question mark. We know from this third equation here, rectangle equals 3 triangles, right? Let's replace the 3 triangles with the rectangle in this equation here. So it will become c plus t plus s equals 3t plus the question mark. So now let's simplify some stuff. So we can cross out the t from here and replace this with a 2. So now it will become c plus s equals 2t plus the question mark. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, it still doesn't really help me. So now what I do is look for a similarity in the other equations, because really what I've done is simplify this equation. So now I'm looking at it and I'm like, can I see circle plus square anywhere? Circle plus square. Look, circle plus square equals a rectangle, right? And we don't know what circle equals, so we can just replace this as rectangle. So in fact, let me write this out up here. So rectangle equals 2t plus a question mark. So now, looking at this, right, we know what triangle equals, we know what rectangle equals. So now, let's substitute in our numbers. So 3 equals 2 times 1, so triangle equals 1, 2 plus the question mark. Now rearrange, so 3 minus 2 equals question mark. Therefore, the answer is 1, and 1 is triangle. The answer is triangle. So this is an example of where there was a bump in the road. I don't know what that is. That's basically a bump in the road. And you couldn't continue with this unless you substituted and simplified the last equation. So that's something you want to consider. Obviously, I can't dictate to you where you should go with each style of equation. It's almost about becoming familiar with these styles of questions and experimenting with each style of technique. So you want to have 3 of the different mindsets. So, direct substitution, indirect, and then the similarity, and then substituting one into one another. Or simultaneous equation, so that's more than 3. But you get the idea. Let's try this equation. So, what's the number one thing we do? Look for an equation where there are 2 known shapes, or 2 variables, sorry. Unfortunately, in this one there isn't. There's either 3 or more. So what do we do? If there isn't one, there are 2 things we can do. Either make one with 2 variables, or we can simplify the last equation. When I say last equation, I mean the one with the question mark. So, can we simplify this last equation? So that's the first thing I'm going to do, because it's just a lot easier. And looking at it, I want to see if there's any similarity. That is how I'm going to initially, make this more simple. So, circle plus triangle is in this equation, circle plus triangle is also in that equation. So I could essentially put all of this down here, and would that help me simplify it? Not quite. We've also got circle plus square plus rectangle here. Have we got square plus rectangle anywhere? No, not quite. No. Triangle plus triangle. Circle plus rectangle. We have circle plus rectangle here, and a circle plus rectangle here. So really, I can replace these two. So let me rewrite this equation with the circle and the rectangle next to one another. Circle plus a rectangle plus the triangle, which is here, equals a square plus a question mark. Now instead of circle plus rectangle, which is up here, I'm going to replace circle plus rectangle with the square instead. And this will make it a lot more simple. So s plus t equals s plus the question mark. Now, I can further simplify this because I know if I subtract s from both sides, or, subtract s from both sides, or the square, I am literally left with t equals question mark. So, that's my answer. Triangle equals question mark. So here, I didn't really use, a equals b, and, square equals 1 or triangle equals 2. I didn't do any of that. All I did is simplify this last equation. That's all I did. And how I did that was find another equation which has similar attributes, similar shapes, and then I would substitute that in to make it simple. And the reason why I did this one and not probably this one or this one is because that I knew that this would equal a square, right? And I would be left with a square. And if any shape on this side is the same on the other side of the equation, they would automatically cancel out, especially if they're both with the same positive sign or negative sign. So if they both have the same sign and they're both on alternative sides of the equation, you can cancel them out and it makes the equation a lot more simple. I know that probably might have sounded confusing. If it did, comment down below, but hopefully that makes sense. So like I said, the answer was triangle. Let's try this equation. So I am looking at all of this, and the number one thing I do, what do I need to do? That's right. Find an equation where there are two shapes. So triangle for me equals 1, therefore s equals 2. And how did I get that? I was looking at the last equation right here. However, there is another equation, and once again, it doesn't matter which one you choose. It's totally up to you, but I'm going with the last one. So triangle equals 1, square equals 2. So now I know these both shapes. What do I do next? I can work out this shape right here, or this equation right here, because I already know what square equals. So basically this equation is saying 2 plus 2 equals 4. Therefore circle equals 4. So circle equals 4. Now that I know what circle equals, what triangle equals, and what square equals, that means I've got three known shapes and one unknown shape, therefore I can work this out. So square is 2 plus the rectangle, which I have no idea what that is, circle plus the 4 plus the triangle, which is 1, 4 plus 1, quick maths, is 5, equals rectangle plus the 2. Now subtract 2 from both sides, so therefore I get 3. So rectangle is 3. Because 5 minus 2 is 3. Good. So now I'm pretty much left with the last equation. So now we can attempt the last equation. So now we know that the circle equals the circle equals 4, the square equals 2, and the rectangle equals 3, and the square equals 2. So let's write this out again, but in a different color. So 4 plus 2 equals 3 plus 2 plus the question mark. Now we can simplify this. 5, 6, 6 equals 4, 5, plus the question mark, 6 minus 5 equals 1, and 1 is the question mark, therefore question mark equals triangle. Here once again it was another indirect substitution, and the answer once again is triangle. Let's try this equation. Hopefully it might spice things up a little. So triangle, sorry, I just randomly shouted triangle. Find an equation where there are two shapes only. So I can see that instantly. So I'm just going to skip a step and I'm just going to call triangle 1 square equals 2. And also another thing, you can use triangle or square, it's totally up to you. Sorry, what I meant was you can use triangle, the letters, or the actual drawing of the shape. It's totally up to you, that's what I meant. So, now having a look at it, find an equation where there are 2 known and 1 unknown. And I can't see that at all. So, the next step is to find a similarity with this equation, the last equation, with the other equations. And the first step I'm going to do is first simplify this. Can I simplify this? Yes, I can. So in fact, let me write it out here. So if I write it out here, s plus r plus another r equals circle plus another r plus question mark. So now what I can do is cross out the rectangles because they cancel one another out, and then I'm left with s plus r equals c plus question mark, right? So that is its most simplest form. So now what I kind of want to do is look for a square plus a rectangle. I see that right here. And look at this. Look how similar this equation is to the last equation, to the equation we just made right now. And this is a benefit that comes with simplifying the last equation with the question mark in. Because, so if you look at this, we have the square plus the rectangle equals the circle plus the triangle. Square, rectangle, circle, and therefore the question mark has to be the triangle. Because that's the only thing that can, you know, be true. And that's how the equations work. So, hopefully that makes sense. And so the answer therefore is triangle. So your answer is question mark equals triangle. Let's try this equation. So, what are we doing right here? Finding an equation where there are 2 shapes. Can you see it? No, I can't. So what do we do? If you don't have one, make one. Make, do, and mend, people. So step number 1, I can either simplify this if I wanted to, or I could, you know, substitute one equation into another. Let's see what we do. So, I spy with my little eye, I see square plus rectangle, square plus rectangle. If I wanted to, I can replace this with 2 circles. So circle plus a rectangle equals circle plus circle minus question mark. I can cancel them out, just like that. So now I have rectangle equals circle minus question mark. Let's get rid of the minus sign from the question mark. So it equals question mark plus rectangle equals circle. Now rearrange again. Circle minus rectangle. Oh gosh, my rectangle. Equals question mark. So what I'm looking for here now is a circle minus a rectangle. If I find that, then I can find my answer. If I can't, then I continue substituting. However, before I continue substituting, I want to analyze all these equations. Are there any 2 or any equation where it has a circle and a rectangle? I immediately looked at the first one and I saw that it had a rectangle in it and it also had a circle in it. And if I rearrange it, so if I make triangle the subject, I get circle minus rectangle equals triangle. Look at that. I've got my answer. Circle minus rectangle equals a triangle. Therefore, the question mark is the triangle. So question mark equals triangle. That was a relatively simple way to go about it. And if you can't do the indirect substitution, first simplify the last question. I wouldn't say first, but it's always good to do it, have it as a, you know, sort of second nature. When you can't find, you know, indirect substitution techniques, then go to the last equation, simplify it, and then move on to, you know, substitution. So the answer is triangle. Isn't this lovely? So, looking at this equation, Okay, so we have square plus square equals a rectangle. Automatically, what am I going to do? You know the drill. I'm not going to say anything now. And once again, you can use, letters, or you can use shapes to represent each of the diagrams. But it's totally up to you. It's best to stick to one. I don't know why I'm using both, but there we go. So, now that I've got square and rectangle, I've got this one here where there are two known variables and one unknown. I can work out circle. So it's basically asking 2 plus 1. So we know square is 1, rectangle is 2. 2 plus 1 equals 3, therefore the circle equals 3. So circle equals 3. Now that I've got circle and rectangle, let's work out this last equation right here. What is rectangle? Sorry, we've already worked out rectangle. Are there any other shapes we need to work out? No, there aren't. So you can skip immediately to the last equation right here and do square plus rectangle equals circle plus question mark. So 1 plus 2 plus 2 equals 3 plus question mark. 2 plus 2 is 4 plus the 1 is 5 equals 3 plus the question mark. 5 minus 3 is 4, 3, 2. 2 equals question mark. And our answer therefore is rectangle, because rectangle equals 2. Hopefully that makes sense. And once again, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, this was indirect substitution. Okay, so let's have a look at this question right here. So we have immediately what I'm going to do is t equals 1 and c equals 2. You should do that off the back of your hand without even thinking. So now I'm having a look and I can't see any equation where, there are two known variables and one unknown. So I've got two options. Either I can play around with these two equations and substitute one into one another, or do a simultaneous equation, or I can simplify this last equation here. And I can kind of do that by writing, instead of square plus rectangle plus triangle, I can write a rectangle plus a triangle equals a question mark. So really, I need to look for a rectangle plus a triangle, which equals a question mark, and that will be my answer. But I can't really see any rectangle plus a triangle anywhere. Oh wait, no, I'm lying, but that's that equation that we just simplified. So really, there isn't. So now I move on to the next step, which is to merge these two equations. Or I can play around with the first equation. It's totally up to you. So the first thing I'm going to do is look for a bit of similarity. There's a rectangle here, there's a rectangle here, there's a square on both sides. I'm going to make these two equations equal to rectangle. So 2c minus s equals r, and here we have s plus t minus c equals r. They both equal r, so now I can make them equal one another. So 2c minus s equals s plus t minus c. So now I'm going to add the s to both sides. So it becomes 2s plus t minus c equals 2c. Now what I'm going to do is simplify it any further if I can. Add the c to both sides. So 3c equals 2s plus t. Now I'm going to substitute in my numerical values. So I know t equals 1. 1 plus 2s, we don't know yet. And then 3c, c equals 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Now subtract the 1 is 5. 5 equals 2s. 5, take the 2 to the other side and you get 5 over 2, which equals s. And s therefore equals 2.5. So s equals 2.5. So now what we can do is then work out the other shape, so which is a rectangle. So looking at equation number 2, we have s plus r equals 2c. We don't know what r is, but we know what s and c are. So s is 2.5 plus the r equals 2c, which is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus the 2.5. So take this to the other side and minus it. So we get r equals 4 minus 2.5, which equals 1.5. And so r equals 1.5. So far we've worked out all the shapes, and now we can get, oh gosh, now we can get rid of all of this and now work out the last bit of the equation. So square is 2.5 plus the r, which is 1.5, plus the triangle, which is 1, equals square, which is 2.5, plus the question mark. This is perfect. So now 2.5 plus 1.5 plus 1, so 1.5 plus 1 is 2.5, plus another 2.5 is 5, equals 2.5 plus a question mark. 5 minus 2.5 is 2.5, equals question mark. So the answer is square, because square is 2.5. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, I believe this might be the last one. I have no idea. So let's have a look. So look for an equation where there are two variables and we don't see any. So what do? You can either simplify the last equation or get straight into substituting these equations into one another. So I'm really going to just first look for a bit of similarity here and there. But first, I'm going to cancel this out, because they're both on the same, both on opposite sides, and both are the same, so they can automatically cancel each other out. So triangle plus triangle equals circle plus the question mark. Whoa. Look at this. They're the exact same equation. The only thing that is missing is the rectangle, which is, in fact, the question mark, because we have triangle plus triangle equals a circle plus a rectangle, or in this case, it's a question mark. So rectangle is question mark. It's as simple as that. And that's pretty much it. I can't even speak.